How I was able to make over $500,000 this year by cold calling Zillow for sale by owners. What is up, guys? Zach in here, and in today's video, I want to break down and share exactly how I was able to make over $500,000 by just cold calling Zillow for sale by owner leads, clicking that live stream button, and actually doing it, guys, for you, in front of you, and best of all, absolutely for free. Before we get into it, do me a big favor, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, and let's really talk about this. So as of this recording this video, and as of you are seeing this, I have done 34 episodes this year of me cold calling Zillow for sale by owners live. And usually every single live I'm doing, I'm able to close at least 1 to 2 deals. These deals averaging the spreads between $10,000, $20,000 more or less. And I'm able to produce in front of you guys over $500,000 worth of deals on these cold calls. And the most important thing you guys need to understand that some of these deals are more, some of these are less. And guys, every single time I do a cold call, I am getting these crazy price reductions. Last week, you guys saw I got a $95,000 price reduction from a motivated seller. I'm getting $50,000, $60,000, even $70,000 price reductions, and it's absolutely killer for success here. If you start cold calling these Zillow for sale by owner leads, you will become successful. I'm telling you guys, over $500,000 worth of deals just by watching this, guys. Could probably be more if I just didn't do 2 hours a week of this. And I'm telling you, it only took me 34 weeks to hit that mark. And guys, there's so many deals I'm able to do when I'm cold calling these sellers, because let's just be honest. If you're talking to motivated sellers over the phone and you're just kind of doing it the little old way that no one else is just basically everyone's teaching you to do, you're not going to do well, right? And it all comes down to just taking action and going after it. And that's what I did. That's how I was able to become successful. So let me break down some of the principles I've done in Zillow for sale by owners, why I've been so successful with them, and most importantly, how you can do the same thing. Most important principle here is just cold calling the Zillow for sale by owners that have been listed for over 100 days. I'm telling you guys right now, the Zillow for sale by owners that have been listed for 100 plus days, they've been sitting. Those leads have been quote unquote simmering for a while, and they're just sitting there and they're really motivated. I can tell you guys straight up right now that these leads, the price that they were wanting to sell the property for 100 days ago was a completely different market than the current market it is in real estate right now. And that means because interest rates are actually rising up, there's a lot more motivation to just get rid of the property cash. And the most important part is I want you guys to understand that most of these sellers on the Zillow for sale by owners, just like a regular wholesaling real estate list, they don't want to sell right now. They don't want to sell for below the market value, and they just don't want to deal with cash. They still want to go the highest bidder. They don't want to deal with a realtor, but they're just not going to be a wholesaling deal. We only want to focus on around 20% of those sellers that just want to get rid of the property. They're okay with a cash offer. They know it's below what their listing price is going to be, and they're absolutely okay with that because they just want to get rid of the property for cash. That is the point, and that's the most important part here. I would also add here, if we can get some price reductions from the sellers, that's just going to be so much better. And honestly, it's going to make my life a lot easier. If they already having a price reduction currently, it's just going to be easier. When I'm always looking at the Zillow for sale by owners, I always look for the place in the market where the ARVs are okay and the property's been listed for over 100 days. There's already some price reductions. Guys, you see my replays on my top cold calling deals when it comes to these Zillow for sale by owners. Usually they've been listed for over 100 days. The price reduction's already there. And yes, it is harder to get a hold of them when the deal has just been listed for that long. But I'm telling you, once you get a hold of them, they're going to want to sell, because once they start listing it like the first week on Zillow for sale by owners, that's when all the potential buyers want to buy the property. That's when all the agents are starting to cold call them. Oh, you get more if you list it with me, blah, 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 right? And the problem is after 100 days, it just kind of gets stuck on the bottom. It doesn't get that traction anymore, and really no one's calling them. So you're basically their only option on here. This is when you come in with a cash offer, be the hero, make it pretty low, but hey, if they take it, it's going to be a good wholesaling deal. The honest thing you have to look for here is the property's been listed for $100,000 for the past 6 or 7 months. Don't offer them $90,000. You're going to have to be at minimum, a general rule, stay at 75% below the listing price. That should be your MAO at most. And it should be a lot lower than that. But for a general rule of thumb, stay under 75% of the listing price. So to get your calculator and just do 75%, so 0.75 multiplied by the listing price, that should be the most you'd offer the seller. So if the property's been listed for $100,000, at most you should offer 75. I would probably shoot for 60%. That's probably a really good lowball offer, and that's going to be very, very important, guys. Now, the next part here is just lowballing, right? And what you got to understand is 80% of my lowballs I do on my live cold calls, they're mostly no's, and that's completely okay. I'm okay if 80% say no, because that's really exciting, because that means 20% are saying yes. And that, guys, if 20% of these people are saying yes to that, oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? Because that means 20% of these sellers actually just want to get rid of the property for cash. They accept my lowball, and it's most likely going to be a wholesaling real estate deal. This is what gets me super excited in wholesaling real estate. This is why I do successfully, because I consistently lowball. I lowball a lot, and that means I'm going to get a lot of no's. But also because I get so many no's, I get so many yeses. The truth is, guys, you can't give up. And that's going to be the next part here that has given me so much success in my wholesaling real estate business and so much success when I cold call Zillow for sale by owners. Guys, I only at most have spent 65 hours cold calling these Zillow for sale by owners. 65 hours. I'd say 70, but like 65 hours this year. And I was able to produce $500,000 from this because I'm able to actually go out here, cold call these leads, show you in front of you guys how I'm able to do it because I consistently do it. The problem is so many of these wholesalers are able to do the deals that I do on these Zillow for sale by owner leads. The issue is you guys aren't doing it. I have to go out here, take the action and not give up. Staying consistent is going to be so important. So 2 weeks ago, I was doing my 2-hour live cold calling session. And the one thing I found really important here, and I think this is really important for you guys to understand, I went an hour and 50 minutes of just not really getting a hold of anybody. The people wanted too much for the house. They didn't accept my low balls. They didn't like it. I was just kind of getting shut out. And then I moved from Connecticut, the state there, and then I went to Arizona for the calling. And honestly, Arizona is a little easier, but they still didn't want to do anything. And then the last dang dial, I didn't even feel like dialing. I was going to answer some questions. I'm like, you know what? Let me just dial. The last dang dial I did was over a $50,000 price reduction and a killer $20,000 wholesaling real estate deal. The truth is anybody was able to do that, like anybody on the cold call. But the truth is I went an hour and 50 minutes of just nothing. And then boom, right before my last possible dial, bam, I got that guy. It's like fishing, you know. If I fish for like 4 or 5 hours to get nothing, the last cast before I leave and I go back home, always a big fish. Oh, like guys, it's just doing that extra one. Because if I didn't do it, I would have not gotten that deal, right? And the thing is I just stayed consistent. I kept that schedule. Hey, 2 hours, I kept it, I did it. And I just did really well. The truth is so many people, they're not staying consistent with it. And if you want to get success calling Zillow for sale by owners, you're going to have to create a consistent schedule. That is what breeds success for wholesaling real estate. The next part here is my delivery. The reason why I'm so successful with this and I'm able to do it really well compared to maybe some new newbies out here is because my delivery is really well. And what I mean by my delivery is really well, when I'm talking to Zillow for sale by owner lead, when I do my lowball offer, I make my delivery very good. I always say something along the lines like, hey, Mr. Seller, after looking at everything, you know, knowing he needs the repairs and knowing he needs this, what works for you? Like if I buy this thing all cash, I pay closing costs, we don't have to deal with anything. I just buy this thing. What works for you? See that pause I just did there? I always make my delivery really consistent. I always give like a problem with the property. I do a little sigh. Just what works? Like no games, like what works? And I just buy this thing all cash. I make them give the offer. Usually they get off 20, 30K more or less off the listing price. And then I kind of cut them a little more. Oh, my partner's probably gonna be out, you know, crazy even lower than that, right? And the truth is what I've always found is when I do that, they like a lot of them, like 20% will always take it. And that's always a great deal for me. I stay very consistent with my delivery. This is why I think a lot of people doing Zillow for sale by owners, they don't do well because their delivery is always off. Now guys, I've done that delivery thousands and thousands of times. And I've gotten a lot of no's, but I've gotten the greatest deals I've ever had in the history of my business from doing that too, because consistent delivery is going to rule. Next part here is I always follow the 80-20 rule. And I think that's a rule I think most wholesalers aren't following and definitely a rule you probably should be following. Now, what is the 80-20 rule? That means about 80% of the time on your conversations, you let the seller talk. Then for 20% of the conversation, you talk. And what should you say during that 20% to make them speak the 80%? You have to ask them questions. It is so important to ask questions. You have to follow the 80-20 rule. If you're not following the 80-20 rule, guys, you're missing out because you have to have the seller talk most because when they talk more, it builds rapport. You listening to somebody will build massive rapport in your wholesaling real estate business. And last but not least, guys, I'm very successful with this because I always look at the state and the county and specifically the zip code or even the city or the metropolitan area. I look at the average ARV. I look at the median home price. So if the median home price in San Clemente, California is $300,000, that means when I'm calling the Zillow for sale by owners, I want to be below the median home price. So if the median home price is $300,000, I want to cold call Zillow for sale by owners that are listed for $250, $240, $200. I want to be below that $300,000 price. When you start doing this and you start adding all this stuff together, you start becoming a lot more successful in your wholesaling real estate business. I'm telling you guys right now, if you stick to these principles, you're going to do well. This is how I was able to make over $500,000 of deals in front of you guys on my Zillow for sale by owner cold calls, guys. I definitely, every Tuesday here, I do my live cold calling, but I want to take today just just to share how I'm able to do it, because I like showing you what I'm doing, but I really want to show you kind of the in-between of what I'm doing, right? And I always like to go below the listing price really hard in the low ball. I like calculating it, like building the report. I just love doing delivery on it, building everything, and then just going to deal. It's a lot easier than you think. Once you make it a systematic process, you'll do well. So guys, the question is, why aren't you cold calling the Zillow for sale by owners? If you're doing it, you'll get successful, I promise you. And at worst, you become a better wholesaler. You do enough times, you do this. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to get any value from this content. Go to freewholesaling.com, my free real estate wholesaling course, where I teach you the entire wholesaling real estate process absolutely for free. Guys, I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. This is Zach signing out. Have a blessed one.